More now on the Middle East talks. Israeli and Palestinian representatives are to meet in Jerusalem today for their first direct negotiations in 3 years. The talks follow the release of 26 Palestinian prisoners by Israel as part of a deal to revive that peace process. Well, we're joined now by Mina Al-Arabi, who is assistant editor of the Arabic newspaper Asharq Al-Awsat, and also by Orlando Radice, foreign editor at the Jewish Chronicle. Orlando, you first. How hopeful about these talks?
Well, I think there's plenty to be optimistic about. Looking at the recent history, perhaps not, but conditions could be described as ripe. Hamas is in a weak position, which gives Abbas room to manoeuvre, politically speaking. And I think, crucially, both Netanyahu and Abbas realise that there is no better alternative than the peace process to resolve both of their problems. Abbas has attempted to seek a diplomatic solution at the UN. He went for that last October. He didn't get much out of it. Benjamin Netanyahu realises that the status quo means that Israel could move towards a one-state solution, which effectively means the end of the Jewish state as we know it. So both sides realise that the stakes are very, very high.
Mina, do you share that guarded optimism that the conditions might be ripe?
I think the conditions, so to speak, are different depending on who you speak to. So in a sense, yes, everything that Orlando said is valid. However, having said that, Abbas doesn't control all of the Palestinian territory. Netanyahu has a lot of domestic problems that he has to deal with. So they're both not fully in control of the situations on either side. Having said that, I think what is a change that we've seen in the past few months is the American commitment to really try to make this go forward. Now, some people criticize Secretary Kerry's involvement and day-to-day follow-up of the situation with everything else that's going on in the region. Of course, we see Egypt, we see Iraq, and so forth. Having said that, they are really committed. And the fact that a 9-month deadline, so to speak, has been put is actually a positive thing, because previously it's almost been open-ended. Let's just keep talking until we get something done. Or it's a matter of weeks. So 9 months should be a timescale that works. Having said that, there's a lot of potential spoilers around, on one hand. The other hand is, of course, we've seen some really negative developments happening recently. One that the Palestinians speak of very strongly and the Arabs speak of very strongly is, of course, the issue of the settlement. Now, the two announcements in just days before these talks start today of new settlement building on Palestinian land is an indication that there is not so much a real commitment from the Israeli government to go ahead with these talks. However, the Palestinians have said we're not going to stop at the settlements, which is why the talks derailed last time, only in 2010, when you had George Mitchell trying to mediate these talks between the between the Palestinians and the Israelis. So the Americans were committed then, it derailed because of the settlements. It's a good thing that the settlements didn't get derailed. It's a good thing that we've seen the prisoners get released. Of course, there was the very moving images you had of people going home, but of course you've had also the demonstrations in Israel about this issue. So it wasn't easy on either side.
And what about then, Orlando, these settlements? Because it felt earlier this week and also even today, when people were talking about even more settlements, as if there are forces within the Israeli political establishment who are determined to railroad these negotiations or torpedo them altogether.
Sure. Well, what the settlement announcement was really about, and if you allow me, Mina, I would like to respectfully correct you on a point of fact, which is that it was a quid pro quo for the Palestinian prisoner exchange. This was something arranged in advance with Kerry. This is essentially a political move for both sides to appease hardliners. That's why Netanyahu approved the settlements. That's why the prisoners were released. This is part of the process, essentially.
That's difficult to say, because the settlements are actually a way of saying that this land, which everybody agrees is Palestinian, and even Americans agree the settlements are illegal. It would be difficult to say that this is part of the process, because actually it is a negative thing. Having said that, part of the process, the Palestinians didn't say, okay, we're going to pull out because of these settlements. So yeah, that might be part of the agreement, but by no means saying that the settlement approval is helping to push towards the peace.
I'm so sorry, we've run out of time now, but we'll get you both back in. There's 9 months of these negotiations. Come back and talk about them again. Mina, Orlando, many thanks.